When you hear the word witch, what pops into your head? For most of us, it's that classic image, right? A hag in a pointy hat, cackling over a cauldron. But you know what? That image is way more modern than you'd think. It's a smash-up of centuries of fear and folklore. The real story? Well, it's a lot older, and honestly, a whole lot weirder.
So, that's the big question we're diving into. Where did the idea of the witch really come from? To find the answer, we have to pull on a thread that takes us way, way back, thousands of years, into a world filled with gods, monsters, and some seriously powerful magic.
And believe it or not, our journey starts right here, in ancient Greece, with a figure you've probably heard of, Circe. But the Circe from Homer's Odyssey? She wasn't some monster lurking in the shadows. No, she was something way more powerful, and a whole lot more complicated than that.
Okay, so this is the first big piece of the puzzle you have to get. Back in the Greek world, magic wasn't this evil thing practiced by outcasts. It was the domain of beings who are kind of walking the line between human and, well, divine.
Just listen to how Homer describes Circe. His choice of words is so important. He doesn't call her a witch. He doesn't call her a sorcerer. He calls her a dread goddess of human speech. I mean, come on. She's the daughter of the sun god Helios, a literal divine being living on her own private island. She wasn't good or evil. She was just powerful, complex, a force to be reckoned with.
And how did she use that power? Through something called pharmakon. This word is brilliant because it perfectly captures how the Greeks thought about magic. The exact same word could mean a life-saving medicine, a magical spell, or a deadly poison. See, the morality wasn't baked into the magic itself. It was all about how you used it. It was a tool, and Circe was an absolute master.
And this kind of powerful, ambiguous magic also shows up in Circe's niece, Medea. Now, if Circe was this divine, complex figure, Medea was just raw elemental power. Coming from what the Greeks called the barbarian lands, her abilities were just staggering. We're talking about invoking gods of the night, making rivers flow backwards, moving entire forests, even pulling the moon right out of the sky. This is not your garden variety village magic. This is world-bending, epic-level stuff.
So in the Greek imagination, you have these incredibly powerful, complex women. But then, as their stories get passed on and retold by the Romans, something starts to shift. All that nuance, all that complexity, it begins to fade away, and something much, much darker starts to creep in.
And I mean, the transformation is just stark. Look at this. The Romans basically took characters like Circe and stripped them of everything that made them interesting. The goddess becomes a monster. Ambiguity gets replaced with pure evil. And this new creature, this cannibalistic, ghoulish thing, gets a new name, the Striga.
You can literally see the story unfold in the word itself. In classical Latin, a strix was this mythical screech owl, a bird of bad omens that supposedly drank blood. Okay, creepy. But by late Latin, it had morphed into the striga, a shape-shifting woman who eats children. And from striga, it's a straight shot to strega, which is the Italian word for witch they were using during the big witch hunts. The divine sorcerer is completely gone, replaced by a monster out of a nightmare.
Now you might be thinking, okay, but surely these pagan ideas just vanished when Christianity came along, right? Nope, not at all. Instead, they got sucked in, absorbed, and reinterpreted through this powerful new lens, the theology of the devil. And the whole thing hinged on one very specific, very ancient fear. And that fear was the evil eye. For ages, people believed that sight wasn't just a passive thing where light comes into your eye. No, they thought the eye was an active organ that could literally project energy outward. And if that energy was supercharged with a nasty emotion like envy, it could do real damage. Make your crops wither, make your kids sick, all kinds of bad stuff.
So what Christian thinkers did next was absolutely crucial. They didn't say the evil eye wasn't real, they just gave it a new manager. Church fathers like Basil of Caesarea started arguing that envy wasn't just some human failing anymore. Oh no, it was demonic. Envy became a doorway, a tool for the devil himself to inflict his malice on the world through a person's glance. The evil eye became the devil's eye.
All right, we've got our ingredients. The power of the Greek sorcerer, the monstrosity of the Roman ghoul, and the pure evil of the Christian devil. And now we get to the great tragic irony of this entire story. The very period we call the Enlightened Renaissance. Well, that's precisely when all these ingredients got mixed together into a truly deadly potion.
This quote from the historian Hugh Trevor Roper just hits the nail on the head. It's the core paradox. How could a sophisticated, art-loving pope, a guy we'd call a humanist, authorized one of the most brutal witch-hunting manuals in history. The answer isn't about what he didn't know, but about what he and everyone else were suddenly rediscovering.
And here it is, the central, tragic twist of the whole thing. The Renaissance humanists were digging up all these amazing classical texts from Greece and Rome, Homer, Ovid, all the greats. But the church inquisitors who were reading them, they saw something completely different. For them, the stories of Circe and Medea weren't poetry, they weren't myths, they were history. They were seen as literal, factual proof of an ancient satanic conspiracy that had been going on for centuries.
And suddenly, boom, all the pieces just snap together. You take the immense reality-bending power of someone like Circe, you combine it with the baby-eating monstrosity of the Roman Striga, and then you filter all of it through this Christian belief that this kind of power can only come from the devil. And what do you get? It's not a myth anymore. It's a criminal profile. It's a heretic. It is the specific prosecutable witch that haunted Europe during the Great Witch Hunts.
So it leaves us with this final, pretty unsettling thought. The witch hunts weren't just born out of ignorance. In a strange way, they were fueled by a new kind of knowledge, the rediscovery of the classical world. It's just a powerful and frankly terrifying reminder of what can happen when we forget how to read our own myths and we start mistaking poetry for proof.